Talk about a crusher. Yes! Oh!
Are you kidding me?
And gone!
Welcome back to the Schoolyard Sports podcast. On this podcast, Lane Frank, we're now at episode 242. So 242 episodes through, and I got an action-packed episode planned for you. We're going to go through the playoff in college football, give you my full bracket and my full predictions, give you my MLB breakdown of what we've seen so far in the offseason. NFL, we're entering last stages of the season, last weeks of the year. Are you going to make the playoff? Or are you going to get left out? We're going to talk a little bit NBA with the NBA Cup wrapping up tonight between the Knicks and the Spurs, and so much more. Stay tuned for Schoolyard Sports, episode 242. Let's start off episode 242, how we always do, with our headlines. And in the NBA Cup is ending tonight, and maybe the time in Vegas is ending tonight. We have Knicks versus Spurs in Las Vegas for those two last games, and this will be that additional game that doesn't go in your record, but does go in those bench warmers' hearts, their $500,000 bonus that you get if you win this tournament as a player. But the NBA is considering moving it out of Las Vegas. Would they move it to maybe a city like Seattle? Maybe a city like Nashville? Maybe out of the country? Maybe they move it to Saudi Arabia? Maybe they go crazy with it and get more money out of this tournament. But NBA Cup officially going to be moving out of Las Vegas. And we have Spurs versus Knicks in the final. I guess the result will be out by the time this episode is out. Let's go Knicks, though. Cooper Flagg had 42 points last night. An incredible game by him. Also, his career high in college was 42, and in the NBA, they tried that experiment with him for a little bit of point guard. But I think it shows that having your most explosive player at point guard doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be so explosive at point guard. Stan Van Gundy tried it with Zion Williamson his second season in the NBA, and it actually worked for a little bit of time. But since then, we've seen Zion rack up so many injuries, haven't got to see that experiment fully thought out. Cooper Flagg, it seems like it's over for good reason. He had 42 points at small forward the other night. Cooper Flagg, he's going to have a great NBA career. That was just a glimpse of it in the loss to the Utah Jazz, 42 points. Now in NFL, we had an insane Week 15 where the Falcons had a game-winning field goal on Thursday Night Football to kick us off in the NFC South over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Good game for them. Bucks 7-7, and Todd Bowles was not happy after that game. The Bears, they won 31-3 over the Cleveland Browns. Shedeur Sanders didn't play well at all. Not a good game for him if he's trying to hold off on the Browns taking a quarterback in the 2026 NFL draft. The Baltimore Ravens, they had a huge bounce back from their game 2 weeks ago against Cincinnati Bengals by winning 24-0, shutting them out. The best performance by Lamar Jackson, best performance by Zachary Orr, their defense coordinator, John Harbaugh. It all clicked in that game right there against Cincinnati Bengals. And for Joe Burrow, Bengals kind of eliminates them from any contention for the rest of the season. Ravens over the Bengals. Los Angeles Chargers got a monumental win on Sunday, taking down the Kansas City Chiefs. I can't think of the last time they won at Arrowhead. I think maybe, they won it in Week 17 a few years ago because Mahomes got benched for Chad Henne. But, just a great win for Jim Harbaugh and company. Jesse Minter, defense coordinator. He'll be a hot commodity on head coaching boards this offseason, maybe even for his past job, Michigan Wolverines, as head coach. But unfortunately, in that game, the Kansas City Chiefs quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, did tear his ACL. The best player in the game today, Patrick Mahomes, tears his ACL. I got more coming up about that, how it stacks up against when Brady tore his ACL at a very similar age and similar times in their career, and what the future holds for the Kansas City Chiefs. So you're going to have to stay tuned for that one. Now, the Buffalo Bills, they got a great win on Sunday, just playing good football. You take down perhaps the best team in the NFL, New England Patriots at that point. You're getting down early, 21-0, but Josh Allen and Joe Brady, they have a great game plan, and they go after it, and they get the win. Sean McDermott's defense, they stepped up at the end. They get that win. Best win of the week, I think, was Bills over the Patriots. Now, the Washington Commanders are still in a world of trouble. They shut down Jaden Daniels for the rest of the season, and Marcus Mariota will give it a go. Just a little update on the Commanders right there. Now, the Philadelphia Eagles, they obviously beat them on Sunday. Jalen Hurts is playing some good football. I know people want to say he was so bad against the Chargers 2 weeks ago. This was a turning point, this game. He was 12 for 15. He did his job. He got the ball to his receivers. Saquon played fine, and they had a great win on offense side of the ball. You want to hate their offense coordinator, Kevin Patulio? All you want. That was a really good offense performance on Sunday by the Philadelphia Eagles against Washington Commanders, kind of like how the Vikings did 2 weeks ago against Washington Commanders. Now, Jacksonville Jaguars, they got a great win over the New York Jets. Trevor Lawrence had one of the best fantasy performances in the past 10 years for a quarterback, putting up 6 touchdowns. Trevor Lawrence was on fire, the best game of his career. And the Jets started rookie quarterback Brady Cook, and, as you could think, he did not cook. They only had 20 points. Wasn't a Mike White experience, a Brock Purdy experience. I don't think Brady Cook is going to be our next unsung hero in the NFL. But hey, at least he got his chance. Now, the Houston Texans, they are cooking everybody. After a few weeks ago, we conned them out and said CJ Stroud was this, CJ Stroud was that. DeMeco Ryans couldn't coach defense. They had such a bad offseason. They're shushing all of us right now because they are playing good, fast, and physical football. And that showed with their win on Sunday. Denver Broncos, they got another great win on Sunday, moving to the best record in the NFL. Only 2 losses still on the season. Fortunately for the Packers in that game, Micah Parsons, their franchise, their future goes down with a torn ACL like Patrick Mahomes. So a sad sight to see for 2 of the game's best players on offense and on defense, arguably the best on those sides of the ball, getting out with season-ending injuries, but hopefully we see them both back in action week 1 of the 2026-2027 NFL season. Los Angeles Rams, they're cruising everybody. I mean, they're playing fast, physical football. They're just playing good football. Blake Corum's been a great spark for them the past few weeks. Matthew Stafford is the MVP candidate. He only has 5 picks in the year. I know they lost to the Panthers a few weeks ago, but since then, they've just been playing great football. Thursday Night Football this week against the Seahawks. Can't wait for that game, Rams or Seahawks. New Orleans Saints, they've obviously had a rough go of things this year, but they did complete a season sweep of Carolina, and they have beaten Tampa Bay this year. So credit to them. Someone said, I forget who it was, on Twitter that, yes, a good draft pick is good and all, but winning games is what adds to your culture. And I couldn't agree with that anymore. I really couldn't. Because when I think of an example is, let's go with the San Francisco 49ers in 2017. San Francisco 49ers in 2017, they were, kind of down and out for most of the season. Then they trade for Jimmy Garoppolo, and they win so many games to end off the season. The next year, he tears his ACL. But the next year after that, they come back and they make the Super Bowl. So winning those games, even when your season's over, stacks on that good culture. And for Tyler Shough and the Saints, that showed on Sunday. 49ers, they got a good one on Sunday with the Tennessee Titans. Cam Ward and the Titans can't get much going. He did throw a touchdown to Jeffrey Simmons in that game. Nice trick play, but he just needs pass catchers. He really does. Over the 49ers side of things, Brock Purdy, he needed to play good football the past few weeks, and he has delivered on that remark. Seattle Seahawks, they squeaked by the Indianapolis Colts with Phillip Rivers, the grandpa, starting at quarterback. They had to have a 56-yard field goal by Jason Myers to win that game. So credit to the Seahawks defense, I guess, for only Phillip Rivers to 16 points, but this offense has been struggling, the Seahawks. When you look back at the Minnesota game a few weeks ago, that defense really won them that game. Jackson Smith and Jigba didn't have a catch. It just wasn't a good game for them at all. And this offense been in a slump right now. But hey, at least they're winning football games, and a big test this week on Thursday Night Football versus the Rams. On Sunday Night Football, the Vikings got a huge win over the Dallas Cowboys. I love me some J.J. McCarthy, of course, and that was his best game in the NFL yet. The quarterback fake couldn't have done it any better, looking Peyton Manning Colts-esque. Just a great play by J.J. McCarthy and a great win by the Vikings over the Dallas Cowboys. That's about for the headlines in the NFL. Now in the MLB, my New York Mets have now lost Pete Alonso and Edwin Diaz. I don't know what to do. I have so much Pete Alonso merchandise, memorabilia, everything. You can name it. I have personalized stuff. As a Schoolyard Sports, Pete Alonso. What am I going to do with that? He's an Oriole. An Oriole, everybody. And then for Edwin Diaz side of things, Dave Roberts, who actually is a great manager, gets even better right here for his team by getting Edwin Diaz. The rich get richer in LA. Edwin Diaz is a Los Angeles Dodger. That's what hindered them most of the postseason until they found Roki Sasaki was getting a closing pitcher. Well, here you go. Best closer in the MLB. Total collapse by the Mets this offseason. I don't care how you put it. That's a collapse. Edwin Diaz Dodgers, Pete Alonso Orioles. Kyle Schwarber re-ups the Phillies. It's about for the news in the MLB. Stay tuned. Now, Schoolyard Sports NFL Game Day. I already previewed that Rams vs. Seahawks Thursday Night Football game, which I think, looking at this slate, is the best game of the week. So let's hop into it. I think the Rams, primetime win. Primetime, they get the job done. Seahawks, great team, great defense. Matthew Stafford's the MVP, and Blake Corum, I've said it and I'll say it again, gives this Rams team that extra spark they need in that running game. Rams over the Seahawks. Packers versus the Bears, another really good game. Came down to the wire 2 weeks ago. Keyshawn Nixon gets an interception at the goal line. I think result stays the same. Close game still, but Packers get the win in Chicago. A much-needed victory for a team that can win the playoffs and win a Super Bowl It just depends because they're sometimes the best team in the NFL and sometimes they lose to the Cleveland Browns. But Packers over the Bears. Chargers versus the Cowboys. We talked about the Cowboys a little bit and I talked about the Chargers a little bit. I think Jesse Minter's defense, this Chargers defense, can have a great game plan. Shut down Brian Schottenheimer's explosive offense in Dallas. Chargers over the Cowboys. Bengals versus the Dolphins. Bengals just don't have much going right now. And the Dolphins win this game over the Bengals. Something I want to point out right here. 2019, both these teams were two of the worst teams in the NFL. Bengals had the number 1 overall pick. Dolphins had the number 3 overall pick. A game like this, late December happened. Bengals, Dolphins. And it's sad to see the same situation. And I know there's been big fluctuations between these teams over the years. Bengals making the Super Bowl, Dolphins making the playoffs. But at the end of the day, it all gets back to that same area. Both these teams are not making the playoffs. So you talk all about these rebounds, taking these quarterbacks. You end up in the same situation. I'm going to go with the Dolphins over the Bengals. Saints versus the Jets. Tough for the Saints, a great franchise historically, just having a rough few years. But I think their culture is getting better under Kellen Moore, and they get the win over the New York Jets. Saints over the Jets. Bucks versus the Panthers. Big game to determine who wins this NFC South. I'm going to go with the Bucks, though, over the Panthers. I think Dave Canales' offense can't get going against Todd Bowles' defense, and Baker makes some good plays right here. Mayfield and the Bucks over the Panthers. Jaguars versus the Broncos. I like this Jaguars team. I really do. I think they hand the Broncos their first loss since early September. Trevor Lawrence and Liam Cohen, new head coach, looking for that coach of the year. They keep rolling. Jaguars over the Broncos. Steelers versus the Lions. Lions offense has been incredible since Dan Campbell took over calling plays. They haven't had wins on the field, or at least many, since that happened, but the stats have been there, and I think those stats will translate into a win this week. Lions over the Steelers. Patriots versus the Ravens. Let's go with the Ravens, everybody. I want the upset pick right here. New England gets their second straight loss, and Drake May's MVP hopes fall into the gutter. And Baltimore's playoff hopes go up a ton right here. So Baltimore over the Patriots. Colts versus the Niners. Let's go with the Niners in this one. Monday Night Football. Don't know who the quarterback it could be. It could be Anthony Richardson. It could be Phillip Rivers. It could be Riley Leonard. I don't know who the quarterback will be. I know the Niners will win this game. 49ers over the Colts to round out Schoolyard Sports NFL Game Day. Now, top 5. This week's top 5 is the top 5 games in college football history in honor of the CFP starting out this Friday with Oklahoma and Alabama kicking off in Norman. So, give me some honorable mentions and we'll get into the top 5. One honorable mention, Arizona State versus Texas last year. Incredible game. Texas is dogging them that whole first half. Cam Scadaboo comes out in the second half, turns into a madman. They got a safety, turned the flip of the game. They go into overtime. Kenny Dillingham gets a gutsy 4th down call, gets it. Cam Scadaboo gets into the end zone. They go double overtime, and in double overtime, Texas is down against their back. Arizona State, 4th and 14 for Texas. They don't get it. They're done, and Arizona State somehow, someway makes the CFP semifinal, but Texas gets it to Matthew Golden. They win the next overtime, and the Longhorns won that game in a great bowl game. I think it was the Cotton Bowl. Arizona State versus Texas was one of the best bowl games I've ever seen, and why? It's top 5 in college ball playoff history. Next one, Clemson versus Ohio State 2020. It's a great game, 2019-2020, because they played 2020-2021 as well. I'm talking about the year of Trevor Lawrence versus Justin Fields, where you had Travis Etienne in that game, where you had guys just, all over the field. NFL talent. It's a great game. Garrett Wilson's true freshman year, he had an incredible catch in that game. J.K. Dobbins had a great game. Ohio State got to an early lead. I think it was 16-0 maybe at one point. Clemson keeps striking back. Huge targeting call on Sean Wade, one of their best defenders. Goes into the next play with a 56-yard touchdown by Trevor Lawrence. Risky, or not risky, or just really controversial call by the referees on Ohio State. Scoop and score that didn't get called. They reversed it back. Clemson goes down the field, wins that game. Ohio State, Justin Fields throws a pick in the end zone in one of the best playoff games to that date. And the last one, Washington versus Texas, comes down to the last play of the game. Texas is driving. They unfortunately could not get the touchdown, and Washington advanced to the national championship in 2023-2024. Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty, the real top 5. Number 5, the most heartbreaking game as a Michigan football fan, Michigan versus TCU. It was a shock to everybody because Michigan was supposed to dominate in this game after TCU had lost their game before. And it looked that way at the beginning. Michigan got off to a 70-yard rushing play on the first play of the game by Donovan Edwards and fails to score in that drive. Then they get a pick 6, and the next drive by J.J. McCarthy. There's another pick 6 later in that game. Then Michigan storms all the way back just for a 3rd and 7, 75-yard touchdown by Quentin Johnson. For Michigan to score again, for Michigan to lose off a controversial no targeting call. Michigan TCU, number 5. They were about most points ever in a quarter in the college ball playoff game in that game in the third quarter. I think there were maybe 4 scores in a span of 30 seconds of game time. Just incredible sequence from the end of that third quarter to the start of that fourth quarter. I suggest you watch it. I think TCU got a touchdown. I think Michigan got a touchdown. I think Michigan recovered a fumble and then scored a touchdown all in 30 seconds. So pretty crazy if you want to go back and watch that highest scoring CFP game ever. 51-45 TCU over Michigan. 4, 2016, Clemson versus Alabama. Comes down the last play of the game. Deshaun Watson, Hunter Renfrow, national championship. Number 4, no doubt about it. Number 3, Michigan versus Alabama in the Rose Bowl. Most aesthetic football game ever is the Rose Bowl. This is a great matchup. 2 powerhouses, the best 2 programs in college ball history, going at each other, and it goes to double overtime, and Michigan got the win in my favorite game as a college ball fan, Michigan versus Alabama. 2, Alabama versus Georgia, where Nick Saban made the gutsiest call ever in the 2018 national championship game by putting Tua Tagovailoa in there to replace Jalen Hurts, and they get the 2nd and 26 touchdown to Devontae Smith to win it all. That's number 2. Number 1, the best CFP game of all time, and I've talked about this game. I've been at this game. This is my biggest regret in life, is leaving this game at halftime because Oklahoma was up by so much. It was 31-17, I think, at halftime, or 31-14 at halftime, and I left Pasadena. I left the Rose Bowl to skip the traffic. Final score was an incredible game. 54-48. Georgia beats Oklahoma. Best Rose Bowl of all time. Best college ball game of all time. The 2017 Rose Bowl between Georgia and Oklahoma. That's about for top 5, everybody. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Now, did you know? This week's Did You Know is, did you know tennis balls used to be white until around the 1970s when they were forced to be yellow because it looked better on TV? Did you know that? Leave that in the comments. That's about for Did You Know this week. So, Michigan football won the national championship in 2023. It was amazing, and it was a tumultuous season where Michigan head coach Jim Harbaugh was suspended, not for 1, not for 2, not for 3, but for 6 games that season. Sherrone Moore was the head coach in 4 of those games, including the last 3 of the regular season. A game where Michigan went on the road and beat Penn State in Happy Valley. A game where Michigan got their 1,000th win at Maryland. A game where Michigan beat Ohio State and got into the college ball playoff. It was a great time for Sherrone Moore as the acting head coach at Michigan. He was destined to be a head coach the next year at any school. Jim Harbaugh left the University of Michigan after winning the national championship. He did his part. He did his mission. He went back to the NFL. And I was thinking about it a few weeks ago before this whole situation unraveled where Sherrone Moore got fired. And I was like, did Michigan ever really interview anybody outside of Sherrone Moore? The only information I ever got was that the only person Michigan interviewed or even considered interviewing outside of Sherrone Moore was Mike Hart, the running back coach at that time. Mike Hart ended up leaving the staff after Sherrone Moore got hired. Okay. Sherrone Moore, I will say it, deserved that job. It was January. It was too late to hire a head coach from anywhere. It's a great job, Michigan. But Sherrone Moore earned that job. He got those 3 games. At least it seemed like he earned that job because of those 3 wins. I understand the decision to hire Sherrone Moore at the time because I endorsed that decision as well. Like I said, 1,000th win on the road at Penn State, and you also beat Ohio State. He deserved it. It didn't go well for him, though. We all know that. Last season was a rough year, 7-5. 4 losses in the Big Ten to Indiana, to Illinois, to Washington, to Oregon. But they beat Ohio State. They beat Ohio State. That was incredible. Now this year, there's a lot of hype. Sherrone Moore did something Jim Harbaugh could not. He got Bryce Underwood to commit to Michigan. Bryce Underwood was not a target of Jim Harbaugh. He really wasn't. Jim Harbaugh was fully sold on other guys, but not Bryce Underwood. Great news that Sherrone Moore got Bryce Underwood to Michigan. The best thing he did as the Michigan football coach, and I still will remember him for getting Bryce Underwood to Michigan. It didn't go well this year, though, because they didn't set Bryce Underwood up for success like I thought they would. I think Chip Lindsey, offensive coordinator, could do a great job as offensive coordinator. I think the defense was perfectly positioned to help out a freshman quarterback and get the ball back to him. I think the one person hindering this team the whole time was Sherrone Moore. I'm not here to comment on the scandal. I think it was the worst kept secret in college athletics. I have known about this scandal since September 6th, since the Oklahoma game, since there was frustration from Michigan fans after the Oklahoma game to where they would even text me, a person inside the program, about this situation unraveling. I guarantee you almost every player in that roster knew. A lot of people inside that program knew. It's okay to have this reset. Michigan is an elite job. It's not so hard to turn around a program nowadays. Indiana and Kurt Cignetti, that's one of the worst Power 5 programs of all time before he gets there. Look where they are now. They're in the Rose Bowl. At Michigan, it'll be even easier. The alumni base, the resources, the roster already there at Michigan is perfectly positioned to win a championship next year. I fully believe that. It's time to have the right man leading the job. I'm not here to say who it is. I'm not here to say it's Kalen DePort. I'm not here to say it's Kane Dillingham. I'm here to give you a spotlight on why I understood why Sherrone Moore got the job, why it's an unfortunate situation, why it's the worst kept secret in college sports, and why Michigan fans should still be optimistic about the future. Go Blue, hail to the victors. Sherrone Moore out as Michigan head coach. Is this an end of an era for Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs now that he has torn his ACL? I say no. I really don't think this is the end of an era. I think you can start running back with Andy Reid, with Travis Kelce, and win it all next year. It's an old roster. It really is. Andy Reid, oldest head coach in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes, he's 31 years old. 30 years old. Travis Kelce, he might get married. Taylor Swift, he might want out of football. Chris Jones, he's getting up there in age. Steve Spagnuolo, he can't be the successor at head coach forever because I do think that is the eventual plan to have Steve Spagnuolo as the head coach of this team once Andy Reid retires. But Andy Reid is obviously a very special talent as a head coach. I don't think he's just going to sit back and retire after such a great career after this season because this season's a wash. They're not in the playoffs. It's over. Next season, I guarantee you, the best player in the NFL is going to work so hard to get back on that field in week 1, and he will, Patrick Mahomes. He will. He'll be fully healthy. He'll be in the pocket more. He won't dance outside the pocket as much, and they will bolster the offensive line, the receivers, and that run game because he is not just the franchise, he is everything to them. He is a business. He is going to make them money if they win, lose them money if they lose. He is that important to the NFL and to the Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, because he is the best player of our time. No doubt about that. Now, Tom Brady had a similar incident in his career. When Tom Brady was 31 years old in the 2008 NFL season, in week 1, he tore his ACL. And people thought, well, Tom Brady, 31, maybe his superpowers die off now and he won't be good anymore. Boy, were they wrong. He won 4 Super Bowls after that and had a great career, of course. Played for 14 more years in the NFL. 2008, 31, until he became 45 years old and retired in 2022. Tom Brady obviously was a very special talent in the NFL. Going up to that torn ACL, similar to Patrick Mahomes, 2 MVPs to 1 MVP. Brady had 1, Mahomes has 2, and they both had 3 Super Bowls. It's a very similar point in their career. And I think I may have jinxed him almost, Patrick Mahomes, because I think a few weeks ago, whether it was on radio, I said, Patrick Mahomes is just one of those guys. He hasn't had that career injury moment. I actually think last week on this show, I said, it's a point for the Chiefs where, Tom Brady didn't really have these seasons outside of his torn ACL season where they just weren't a good team. This year, Kansas City Chiefs weren't a good team. They weren't the best team in the NFL. Brady's Patriots, they were always the top of the NFL, except for the year he tore his ACL. So I hope this isn't an end of an era for the Kansas City Chiefs. I do hope they can get back to the top of their game next year with a healthy Patrick Mahomes, going back with Travis Kelce, and going back with Andy Reid for one last chance at a Super Bowl with that core, and then moving on for the rest of Patrick Mahomes' career, which hopefully doesn't get tarnished at all by this torn ACL. That's about it for my end of an era segment on this Chiefs, because I don't think it's the end of an era. I'm putting the question up there, but I don't think it's over. Do you think this is the end of an era for Kansas City? Leave your answers in the comments. I certainly don't. Still more to come. Schoolyard Sports Lane Frick, episode 242. The college football playoff is here, starting this Friday. Oklahoma versus Alabama in Norman, Oklahoma. And then we got our on-campus games on Saturday. I can't wait for it, and I can't wait to pick these games. Let's hop into it. First one, Alabama at Oklahoma. Kalen DeBoer versus Brent Venables, a rematch of the matchup in Tuscaloosa last month. Oklahoma's offense has been absolutely disgusting since John Mateer got operated on by Dr. Shin. They have been horrible. John Mateer has been horrible. But luckily for them, this defense is smash-mouth football. And for Alabama, a team that can't run the ball, a team that struggled last week in the NCC Championship game, a team that I just don't think will get it done on the offensive side of the football, will lose in a slugfest to the Oklahoma Sooners at night. If this game's Tuscaloosa, maybe it's different. But we saw that already, and we saw them lose. So they go to Norman this time. It's a great staff down there in Alabama. I think they'll have them ready, but I just don't think it'll be enough. Oklahoma over Alabama. Next one, James Madison versus Oregon. It's not even going to be close. It's going to make a playoff committee really rethink this whole system because how not close this game will be. Bob Chesney's mind is completely on UCLA. It's not going to be close at all. Oregon over JMU in the night game. Tulane versus Ole Miss. I don't want to see this matchup either. John Summerall's mind is completely at Florida right now. Not in Tulane. They're going to lose by 5 touchdowns again to Ole Miss. Pete Golding era. Let's go. Spot the ball. Miami versus Texas A&M. Another great game. Who will win this one? Let's go. Matchup a few years ago, actually down in College Station. Texas A&M ended up winning that game over Miami. It was a really good game. I'm just upset that's a noon kickoff. I really wanted this to be a night game in College Station, but unfortunately it's not. I think a lot of people are surprised that Miami's in this playoff, but I hate to break it to you, Miami's a really good football team. Texas A&M, a few weeks ago, you would have thought they'd be in that top 4 bye spot. Well, they're not, because they lost to Texas. And I think they lose again right here. 2 straight losses for Marcel Reed and Texas A&M, and decisions and conversations will be had about the Aggies' quarterback future in the offseason with the Texas A&M team. I think Marcel Reed might want out. They might want him out because they're going to lose this game. Carson Beck and Miami. Mario Cristobal gets his signature win at Miami over Texas A&M. Tulane versus Ole Miss. Pick that one. Went with Ole Miss. So Ole Miss is going to win. Miami's going to win. Oregon's going to win. Oklahoma's going to win. We're done with the first round, the college ball playoff. Now, the Rose Bowl. Oklahoma versus Indiana. Oklahoma's first time in the Rose Bowl since 2017. We talked about that game this episode, how special it was versus Georgia. But I think Indiana, just a great offense and a great defense. Too much for Oklahoma to handle. A great game, but Fernando Mendoza, too much time, too much rest, too much excitement for this Rose Bowl. The Indiana Hoosiers are your Rose Bowl champions, 2026. Let's go Hoosiers. Indiana over Oklahoma to advance to the college ball playoff semifinal. Oregon versus Texas Tech. I'm going to go Oregon in this one. I like the upset. I like the Big Ten team. I think Texas Tech's really good. I think Baron Morton's a good quarterback. I think Joe McGuire is running a great program down there, and they've done a great job all season long. They gave out extensions to their GM today, their offense coordinator today, and they've got a great future. But that future does not entail a win versus Oregon to advance to the CFP semifinal. So Dante Moore and company, Tosh Lapoy, Will Stein, these guys are head coaches, but boy, are they coordinators still for this Oregon team. Let's go with Dante Moore in Oregon and Dan Lanning over Texas Tech. Miami versus Ohio State. I want to pick Miami. I really want to pick Miami, but I can't. I think Julian Sain is so fired up. He's mentally going to be prepared after that loss to Indiana, and his defense can play good football. Ohio State over Miami. One thing to look out for. Look out for these Miami DBs to actually have an advantage over these Ohio State wide receivers. Brian Hartline has been apparently a distraction in this Ohio State locker room after being the head coach at USF and still being at Ohio State. He's not managing his time great, apparently. As some of these other guys like Tosh Lapoy and Will Stein are, Brian Hartline is not. So I think Miami loses this game, but close. Ohio State over Miami. Georgia versus Ole Miss. We saw this matchup earlier in the year, and it was a great game. One of the best games of the year. Ole Miss got to a great start. They scored in the first play of the second half, and it was kind of radio stack after that. They didn't get things going. Georgia played great football the rest of the way at home, and they got the win. I think you can expect more of the same here, just with less offense from Ole Miss in this new Pete Golding era, with Trinidad Chambliss at quarterback, Charlie West Jr., maybe his mind's on LSU, maybe it's not. I don't think they win this game. Georgia over Ole Miss in the SEC battle to make the CFP semifinal. Now, we've got the CFP semifinal game between Indiana and Oregon. It's going to be a great one. But I think the Indiana Hoosiers advance to their first national championship in Indiana football history over Oregon. Oregon's ride unfortunately ends. Dante Moore and company can't get done versus the Hoosiers, the best team in the Big Ten. They don't win the rematch versus Indiana. We saw this matchup in Oregon earlier in the year. Indiana won by 2 possessions. Expect a similar result at neutral site for Indiana to advance to the national championship. The other semifinal, Ohio State versus Georgia. Rematch of the Peach Bowl all the way back at 2022-2023 college ball season when Noah Ruggles shanked a 50-yarder as we went into the new year. One of the coolest things ever. Kicks it at 11:58, misses it at 12 o'clock. Kicks it in 2022, misses it in 2023. Ohio State, same result here. They lose to Georgia. Gunnar Stockton, this run game, and Kirby Smart get the win. Georgia over Ohio State. Now, Indiana versus Georgia. Both these teams have had great years. Georgia only has 1 loss to Alabama at home. They avenged that loss in the SEC championship game by playing great football. Glenn Schumann's defense has gotten so much better over the year. Kirby Smart's offense has been doing great things too with Gunnar Stockton at quarterback. I like to call him maybe the most mature quarterback in college football, Gunnar Stockton, and he fits that mold of a quarterback at Georgia, like a Stetson Bennett, who can hurt you with his arm, but he can also hurt you with his legs, and he'll disguise it every single time. But for the Hoosiers, it's a great defense, led by Aiden Fisher, led by guys like D'Angelo Pons, Kurt Cignetti, of course, head coach, Fernando Mendoza at quarterback, Roman Hemby at running back. Offense does well in this game against Georgia's defense. I really do think it does. But I think this Georgia offense plays even better. And I'm going to pick the Georgia Bulldogs to win this year's College Ball Playoff National Championship. Kirby goes for 3. He gets his 3rd national championship. Let's go Bulldogs, your 2025-2026 College Ball Playoff National Champions. Let's go at the buzzer this week. A really fun at the buzzer for me to talk about with you guys. You know, if you've watched this show since 2020, if you've listened to it since 2020, I am a very big Michigan fan, whether it comes to football, whether it comes to basketball. I've talked about it since I was 12 in 7th grade. And this definitely isn't my first time wearing a Michigan shirt on the show, but has some meaning here. I did get into the University of Michigan yesterday and will be going there. So go blue, hail to the victors. Been a fan of them, of course, my whole life. A lifelong dream come true. And maybe you can expect some Schoolyard Sports activities at Michigan next year. Thank you for listening to episode 242.